Hello guys, welcome back to my channel. Today we are going to be talking about how to get a resident permit right up to how to be naturalized or how to have a German citizenship using vocational training. In German it is called the Ausbildung. Vocational training in Germany is one of the processes in which the German government have used to try to see that it boosts its economy, because they have realized that most of their students or most of their young youths, most of them don't like going to school, and some of them just like something that they want to do fast in order to start earning money. So that was why they came out with this vocational training project. The vocational training project in Germany has been helping the economy for a very long time now, and they also try to see that they integrate it to some of the foreigners who come into the system or who come into the country. They could also benefit from it. So before we go ahead, I would like to talk about how the vocational training system in Germany works. You know, there are two types of vocational trainings that you can do in Germany. There is the one that is basically on the school section, and it is called schulische Ausbildung. And there is the second one that it is both school and work. Understand? That means the same amount of time you go to school, you also spend almost the same amount of time at work. And in this system, that's where the company employs you, or the company gives you a contract to go to do this vocational training. And this is a process in which I would like to talk about more. For some of us who are foreigners who come to Germany, and we are looking for options to have documents or to have resident permits, and also some want to go further to have their citizenship in Germany. This is one of the process in which you can use to have your resident permit without spending a dime, without going through some of the complications that some other people would like to use, like for example emergency marriage, emergency kids. In order to have resident permit, because those are other ways in which you can also have your resident permit in Germany. But that's another topic for another day. That's another process on its own that I would like to use another day to really go deep into it and dissect more into it. But for today, we are talking about the vocational training for foreigners, and also for those who want to come into Germany using the vocational training. You know, the system doesn't just work for those who are already in Germany. It also works for those who are out of Germany but wants to come to Germany and possibly stay in Germany, like they have a base in Germany. So this system also works. It also works for them. So before we go ahead, I would like to try to really analyze some of the requirements, for especially those who are already in Germany, the requirements that they will need in order to even apply for the vocational training. And secondly, I will talk about how to apply for vocational training, and also how to use this vocational training that you've applied for to have your resident permit. And after you have your resident permit, I'll also try to talk about how long you will need to have your resident permit before you can apply for your citizenship in Germany, and also the processes that all entails in the whole process. You understand? So before we go ahead, I would like you to please take out a few moments of your time, hit the like button, write any commentary that you have down below on the commentary box, and also like this video. You can also do me the favor by sharing so that your friends or some person who may find this information very important should also benefit from it. So the first thing I would like to talk about is the requirements that you will need in order to apply for a vocational training in Germany. That is, first of all, if you're already in Germany. Yeah, if you're already in Germany and say, for example, you are under asylum, this works. This process works for those who have applied for an asylum, and automatically some countries, like most countries in Africa, will not be granted asylum, and they will need a second option in order to have resident permits in Germany. So this is one of the very easy ways, and without any expenditure, and above all, you will instead be paid, to do your vocational training. This is one of the ways that you can use stress-free to have your resident permit in Germany. So once you come to Germany, you're going to register under the asylum. You are going to seek an asylum. You seek an asylum. You have your story told. Possibly you'll be rejected, or even if you're not rejected, your name is in the system as an asylum seeker. Your name is in the process. So why your name is in the process? Now, in Berlin, what the asylum immigration office or everything that concerns immigration and so on, what they used to do is they try as much as possible that you should not just sit at home. They try to see one or two things that they can be doing for you while your process is being, your asylum process is being processed. You understand? So one of the things they used to ask you when you go to the office is, do you want to go to school? That's to study the German language, or do you want to just go out there and look for a job without qualification? Of course, because most people who are under the asylum system here, most people who seek asylum are, first of all, not even if they are educated, they cannot just go to school directly. So they have to first of all look for work that they have to be doing before their asylum process goes to an end, or it is being processed. So you have to choose that you want to go to school. So if you choose that you want to go to school, they already have a system set in place. The schools that you will go to and learn the language while your asylum procedure is being processed. Yeah. So the immigration office pays for the school. You go to school, possibly, say, for example, 6 months intensively for you to obtain your B1. It is called B1 certificate. So when you obtain your B1 certificate, this is the minimum amount of Deutsch Kenntnisse, that's Deutsch proficiency that you need in order to even go ahead to apply for an Ausbildung, that is the vocational training. Yeah. So the first thing you need to do is to first of all go to school. You put your head down, you relax, you go to school for 6 months. Mind with me, while you're going to school for 6 months, you've applied for asylum. And while you have applied for asylum, you're being taken care of by the social system of the of Germany. For example, Berlin, that's where I am. You are being taken care of the system. That means they give you an allowance every month that you're going to be using for your upkeep. For example, buy food for yourself, or take care of yourself, buy cream, or general upkeep. Yeah. At the same time, you're going to give you an apartment or a residence where you're going to stay in this process while your asylum process is being processed. You understand? So, and if you want to go to school, like I said before, you can also be going to school under the same process. While the process is going on, you receive your monthly allowance, your house rent is being paid, and you're also going to school. Now, there are times when they also go ahead as to pay you your train ticket, your bus ticket, in order for you to go to school. to study language, of course. So, the basic time or the average time that you need to have this B1 certificate, that's the minimum amount of Dutch that you need in order to apply for your Ausbildung, that's a vocational training, because it is going to be in Dutch. The minimum amount of time that is needed is 6 months intensively. You go to school, that's from Monday to Friday, 8 to say 2 or 2:30 or something like that, for 6 months. Of course, you have breaks in between, like for 2 weeks breaks, maybe for Christmas holidays, or maybe when the German when they also have their own 1 or 2 public holidays, you're also going to have break that you're going to observe. So after this process, at the end of the day, you're going to write an exam. So when you come out with this exam successfully, it means you have your B1 certificate. So that process is settled. Yeah? You have a B1 certificate, you are happy, all is done, fine. Now the next thing for you to do is to apply for your vocational training. There are many platforms online that you have to go to look for the kind of vocational training that you want to do. There are so many vocational, whatever you think of, yeah. If you want to be a nurse, if you want to be an IT, genius, if you want to be, a tailor, a barber, whatever you can name it out, yeah. Whatever you want to be, whatever you want to do, there is always a vocational training for that. So it's for you to go online and search for this vocational training. Search for a particular company that provides you with all the the necessary amendments that you think you need, because there are some of them that vary. Some of them gives you a little bit more money, others gives you a little bit less but with more holidays, while other gives you more money and with fewer holidays. So you just have to go through the various companies that will offer you this vocational training. So when you find a company, all what is left for you now is to apply for the company. So when you apply for the company accepts you. Okay, they'll invite you to come for an interview. You go for the interview, you explain yourself to them. This is what I want to do. They'll ask you a normal job interview. It's just like a normal job interview, but this one now you're going to have a vocational training. Yeah. So afterwards, that is done. God bless, or you're happy, you have the contract, you have a work contract. So the next thing you have to do is to take this contract to your foreign office. That's the immigration office. Take the contract to the immigration office and give it to them. Okay, yeah, I have an Ausbildung contract. I have a vocational training contract. I would like to do a vocational training. Of course, you need a confirmation from the foreign office in order for you to go ahead. And let me take you people a little bit back. A vocational training, before you have to be accepted to a vocational training in Germany, mind you, you have to identify yourself. Your identity have to be cleared. You have to provide a passport from your country in which you're coming from, an ID card, a birth certificate, in order to identify yourself before you be accepted to do this vocational training. Now, this is where it is very tricky, because there are a lot of people who, because they have they have applied for an asylum and they know that the asylum will not be granted, so they are afraid to hand over their documents, because it is only with these documents that it's mostly with this document, that the German government will be able to deport you back to your country that you're coming from. So a lot of people are afraid that, okay, if they hand over their passport, or if they identify themselves with maybe birth certificate or an ID card or something like that, that shows where they're coming from, or that proves their identity, it is going to be used to deport them. Yeah. So, but mind you, if you're going to do an asylum, or if you're going to do a vocational training, that is not going to work. They are not going to use those documents to deport you back home. I repeat, they are not going to use this document to to deport you back home. The system works here very transparently. If it is if you are in a position where they are about to send you back home, you yourself, you know that they are about to send you home, and it is now left on you to cooperate peacefully, or you want it to be done by force. You understand? So, and they don't just reject your asylum application, and immediately they want to deport you. Also bear with me that this process is also very expensive, and they are looking for possible ways, everything possible, to reduce this expense, the expense of deporting, foreigners from their country. They are looking for various ways to, to reduce the cost of that. And secondly, Germany needs a lot of workforce because the economy is on the verge of crumbling, because they don't have a lot of manpower to boost the economy. That is one of the reasons why they implement this vocational training process in order to get your resident permit through it. It's because they need serious immigrants who come into the country with very serious intentions to integrate themselves into the country and to also help to boost the economy. Because at the end of the day, by the time you're done with your vocational training, you're going to have a job, and by the time as you're working, you're going to be paying tax into the finance arm, the financial ministry. You're going to be paying your tax into it, and these are all the things that helps to boost the economy of the country. So there is no way that they are going to use your document that you want to use to apply to do your vocational training to use to deport you back home. There's a whole process behind that, and before you get to that point, you should be aware. Understand? Before it gets to that point, you are going to be made aware. So that's all the background stories about it. Now you've applied, you've identified yourself, your identity have been cleared, and you've been granted the permission to do the vocational training. So what you need to do is, your company already applied for the school. That's because you need to be going to school, and also to go to you'll be going to work. You understand? So your books, all the necessary equipment that you're going to use to go to school, the company that employs you is going to take care of everything. So you don't need to buy anything. You don't need to buy any book, except you see that, okay, this is very necessary, and maybe you don't want to disturb the company. You can just get that on your side, and those things are not very expensive. Maybe 20 euros, 24 euros, 50 euros. You will get something that will help you to prepare yourself very well for the exams that you'll be taking. Like I said before, there are two types of vocational training. That is the Ausbildung that you'll be doing in Germany. Either the one that you go to school mostly, and you go to work just maybe once a week or so, or you go to the one that is called the dual Ausbildung. That's the dual vocational training. It is shared in such a way that you go to work for 2 weeks in a month, and the rest of the 2 weeks in a month you go to school. And at the end of the month, the company pays you what is called Ausbildungsduldung. The company pays you this money. It ranges, it varies according to different companies and different branches. There are many other branches and many other companies, and all the amount of money that you're going to receive at the end of the month will vary according to the company that you work in. But the vocational training that will need you to apply for your resident permit, and also at the end of the day get a German citizenship, is the one that ranges not less than between 2 and 3 years. And that's a standard duration in which most vocational trainings in Germany it goes between 2 to 3 years. That's the duration you need. At the end of the day, by the time you succeed, you have your certificate in your hands, you can decide if you want to work in the same company, it's not a must for you to work in the company in which you finish your vocational training from or you studied with. It's not a must. If the company offers you a contract, a work contract at the end of the day, and you see that, okay, I like this contract, I can do with this contract. Or maybe the way the company treated you when you were going to school, when you were doing your vocational training, you could say, okay, by the time I'm done with this school, with this training, I would like to continue working in this company. But if you say no, I want to change, environment, I want to go to some other company, you can now change and go to another company, seek for a job for another company. And mind you, you have to apply for the company that you studied in, the company that you did your vocational training in, the field in which you did your vocational training in. Have a work contract. By the time you have a work contract, you sign the work contract, you take this work contract with the result of your vocational training, you take it back to the foreign office. So when you take it back to the foreign office, you apply for, a resident permit. They are going to give you a resident permit of 2 years contract, a 2 years resident permit. Some, it depends on the area or the state in which you are in. Some states will just go ahead and give you these 2 years directly, while other states will first of all give you 1 year. And after the 1 year finishes, you come back to register, to come back to apply for the next, to renew your visa or your resident permit. Okay? At that point, you don't have any problem again. You can always renew your resident permit as long as you want. Understand? And yeah, in order for you to, like I said before, in order for you to have a resident permit, you must work, you must apply for the company, or you get a contract for the company in which the field in which you did your vocational training in. For example, say food processing company, or for example nursing, or for example healthcare. You must have a job in this field. This is what you're going to use to apply for your resident permit. And after you have a resident permit, you must work in this field for 2 years. Afterwards, you'll be free to apply for any other extra company that you want to apply for. That doesn't concern what you did your vocational training in. You understand? That's one of the things that you need to know. Now, by the time you're done with your vocational training, you must have a job in this field and work there for 2 years. Afterwards, you are free to work wherever you want to work in. That should be clear. So that's done. But mind you, before you want to apply for your resident permit, say after you're done with your school or when you're still going to school, it will be good for you to use this opportunity to, first of all, meet the requirements that is needed for you to obtain a resident permit at the end of the day, because that's the end goal, to earn your resident permit at the end of the day. So what are the requirements that you will need in order to have a resident permit by the time you're done with your vocational training? Because if you don't meet these requirements, it is very, very possible that at the end of the day, you don't have a resident permit. You just qualified. You just have a qualification, but you don't have a resident permit. You will not be able to use this qualification to apply for a resident permit because you are lacking in 1 or 2 of the requirements that are needed. The first requirement is the German, German proficiency, the German language. You have to have this German language up to B1. Remember, that's what you've already done before you even applied for the vocational training. Yeah, because you need the German language in order to study in school, because you need to do this vocational training, but in Germany. So if you have your B1 certificate, cool and fine, you keep that at the side. That one is already being ticked. Yeah? The second thing you have to do is to be able to take care of yourself. Like, you are no longer staying in the residence that the government or the social system is paying for you. You're no longer staying there, or even if you're staying there, you should be able to pay your rent yourself from the money that you're obtaining from the company that you're doing the vocational training from. That's okay if during the time you're doing your vocational training, you can still stay under the social welfare and allow them to pay, to pay your rent for you. But by the time you're done, you have your company. Before you apply for, your resident permit, you must look for your own place, a place for at least 2 rooms, a parlor and a room, kitchen, toilet, that you'll be able to stay there and pay the rent yourself and show receipt, show your documents, show the contract, your rent contract that shows that this is where you're staying. That's something that you need. And the third thing is that you should not be involved in any terrorist, activities. You should not be on records that you're involved in any terrorism, in any form. You should be that clean, yeah. And the fourth thing is you should not have any problem with the police system in Germany or where you are. You should not have any problem with the judicial system. You should be as clean as a newborn baby. Yeah, they are one of these kind of penalties that you may have, like you enter a bus without paying a ticket. These are small things you can handle them, but by the time you start going to the police station until you get to the point where you can be locked up, or you can be get to the point where you can be locked up, or get to the point where you have to pay a very huge amount of money in order to buy your freedom. That's when it's going to affect the process of you getting your resident permit. Understand? So, and also the last, of course, you have to first of all clear your identity. You have to provide documents, passport, identification card, birth certificate that proves that this is actually your name, this is actually who you are, and this is actually where you are coming from. Yeah? You have to prove all of these things before you will be able to go to the foreign office to apply for your resident permit. Okay? So you've done all these ones, you've applied for your resident permit, you have the resident permit. It doesn't matter if it is 1 year they give you first or they give you just the 2 years first. Now, the system in Germany, it is called 2 plus 3 Regel. That's all together, that's 2 plus 3 rule. That's what it's called, and it is also known as the Ausbildung Duldung. Yeah? It is known as the Ausbildung Duldung. The 2 plus 3 rule means that by the time you're done with your school, you have 2 years to work under the company or the field in which you studied in. After that 2 years, you have another 3 years to work or to do whatever you have to be. You have to be working wherever you have to work. Afterwards, you'll be able to apply for your citizenship, your German citizenship. That's all together if you've applied for an asylum, and through the asylum you get the Ausbildung Duldung, and through the Ausbildung Duldung you have your Aufenthalt, that's a resident permit. Excuse me. You have your Aufenthalt title, or that's your resident permit. You have your 2 years resident permit. Afterwards, you have another 3 years. That's all together, yeah? In conclusion, all together from when you apply for the Ausbildung, or when you started doing the Ausbildung, right up to when you'll be able to have to apply for your, citizenship, all together should be 8 years. 3 years in school, 2 years after you finish schooling and working in the company in which, in the field in which you schooled in, and 3 years afterwards. All together is 8 years. Yeah. Now this is for somebody who applied for an asylum. Mind you, the 3 years in which you were doing Ausbildung, you're going to school, you're doing this vocational training, it was not recognized as, you are being legal in the country. It wasn't recognized like that. It was like you're being tolerated to stay in the country. So when they started counting, the time that they start counting when you are actually legal in the country, was when they actually give you a resident permit. That's when you're now legal. And from the time they give you a resident permit to the time that you can apply for your citizenship in Germany, altogether it's going to be 5 years. You understand? That's for somebody who goes through the Ausbildung system or the asylum system. Yeah? You have your resident permit. You have your citizenship. That one is finished. But for the new rule that the Parliament is discussing upon, Parliament is discussing Parliament is discussing on serious rules that serious laws that's going to affect immigrants living in Germany. So one of it is that these 5 years that you're going to take in order to apply for your German citizenship is going to be reduced to 3 years. You no longer need to wait for 5 years in order to apply for your citizenship. After 3 years, you can apply for your citizenship and you get it. So, as of 2023, this law is going to be passed, and by the time it is passed, those who already have their Ausbildung and they are between 2-3 years and so on, they can apply already for their citizenship and they are going to have it. And the second thing is that this new also in this new rule that they are talking about, they want to also accept the fact that an immigrant can also have 2 citizenships. For example, you have 2 passports. For example, you're from Cameroon and you have your Cameroonian passport, you can also apply and have a German passport. But before now, or let's say by now, because the law have not been passed yet, you will not be able to have a Cameroonian passport and also a German passport. You must have to give up the Cameroon passport in order to have a German passport. Yeah, those are the new rules that they are working on, and yeah. But also, before you get to this point that you want to apply for the citizenship or for the passport, you must first of all meet up to the past requirements that we talk about. You have to be working, earn enough money to take care of yourself and to pay your house rent and to also contribute to the German financial system. That's tax. And you should not be involved in any criminal activity. You should not be involved in any terror activity. That's clear. Now, for those who come to, who apply from, say, Cameroon, for example, you apply from Cameroon to come and do a vocational training in Germany, you don't need to apply for any asylum. Yeah, you apply, you sit in Cameroon. What you need to do in Africa or whatever country you are in is to first of all obtain this basic German knowledge, say B1. But remind you, if you're coming from Cameroon, they also need you to step it up a little bit. The German language, you step up the German language a little bit. Say, in order to be on the safe side, normally the minimum amount is B1, but in order to be on the safe side, that you don't have any problem with the with the immigration office or by the time you're applying for your visa, just step it up to B2. By the time you have your B2 certificate, you apply, you go online and you seek for a job, you seek for a company that you want to do your vocational training in. You apply for this vocational training. They may have to do an online interview with you, and they do an online interview with you. And in this process of this interview, this is when they are also going to, assess your German language, yeah, a little bit. They also assess your German language a little bit. And if a company sees that, okay, you can do it, or say there are some 1 or 2 things lacking, the company can still employ you, bring you to Germany, and also apply that you, while doing this vocational training, you also apply for studies, a German language course on the side in order to boost, your language. Understand? So that being said, you apply from Cameroon, you apply from Nigeria, Ghana, or wherever. You come to Germany, you have a job, you have a contract. You use this contract, you apply for a visa. You have a visa, you fly to Germany, you come to Germany, you start doing your vocational training. You understand? You do your vocational training for 3 years, you're done, you apply for a job, you have your job, and afterwards you have your resident permit. Now, you will not need to they start counting now the number of years that you spend in Germany. They start counting from when you started doing your Ausbildung, because you did not come into the country illegally and you did not apply for asylum. You have a visa that covers you the duration of time that you are doing your vocational training. You understand? So by the time you're done with your vocational training and you apply for a job in the same company, in the same field in which you did your vocational training in, you can now have your citizenship, German citizenship. You can apply your German citizenship after 5 years. You understand? Now the 5 years is being counted from when you started doing your Ausbildung. That's the 3 years in which you finished doing in which you did your Ausbildung, and the 2 years after you've been working, after you started working after your Ausbildung. You understand? That is how the 5 years are being counted. And now, based on the fact that the new laws that I've been talking about and is going to come into effect as of this year, 2023, that means immediately you finish your immediately you finish your vocational training, you apply for a job and you start working. Highest should be, say, 6 months, 3 to 6 months, you can already apply for your permanent resident permit, and your permanent resident permit, and also your citizenship, because it has been reduced now from 5 years to 3 years. You know, the time in which you need to use in order to apply for your citizenship, it's been reduced from 5 to 3. So immediately you finish, you know, your vocational training and you have a job, you can easily apply for your citizenship. Understand? Excuse me. So that is, you know, those are some of the ways, or that is one of the very easiest ways in which you can use to have a document or to have a resident permit in Germany without going through the stress of, you know, doing things that you don't really want to do, but you need to do them in order to have documents. You understand? So this is one of the ways, and one of the very easiest way, because it's what I did. It's what I did in order to have my resident permit in Germany, and that's why I'm talking about it. But there are also other ways in which you can also use to have your resident permit and also your citizenship in Germany. And those other ways we are also going to be talking about them in the course of this channel. So please do me a favor and do yourself a favor by subscribing to this channel and hit the notification button in order to be notified anytime I post a video, because it's always going to be very informative. And also like this button and share. You know, by the time you like this button, the algorithm is going to be used to, you know, show this video to other people who may find it interesting. And you can also share this video to your friends and loved ones that you think they will need this information in order to, you know, come to Germany and survive in Germany. So that's where I'm going to hold it, and I want to wish you guys a very nice time and stay safe.